Hello, you're watching Global Insights, where we speak to experts from around the world on issues making headlines. I'm Seong-ah. Now, Christmas is around the corner, and today we focus not on one-time gifts for neighbours in need, but long-term efforts to make society more inclusive for people marginalised in the South Korean economy. We take a look at how migrants and women are being supported in the job market here, and for this we connect with Hee-kyoung, Professor of Law at Hongik University, and Seong-ah, CEO of Korean Vocational Education and Training Institute. Very warm welcome to you both. Thank you for joining us on this extremely cold morning, and though virtually, of course. And well, Professor Jo, it's always lovely to see you. And well, my first question goes to you, and well, it's a bit of a not a happy question, but there's been discrimination, of course, in Korean society between low-skill and high-skill foreign workers. And while high-paid workers, of course, they can take advantage of many different company benefits, and their visas are very easily issued. They generally live very good lifestyles here. But it's a very vastly different story for those with blue-collar jobs here. So the Korean government has been, of course, trying to attract more migrant workers due to the labour shortage and declining population in the country. But going forward, what do you think are some important steps that they need to take?
Right. Good morning. Differentiating between highly skilled workers and lowly skilled workers are not a new thing. It's actually something that every country around the world, or almost every country around the world, does. And in fact, many countries around the world are competing with each other to attract highly skilled migrants. And as you point out, for highly skilled migrants, those with professional jobs, expertise, etc., they have no problem moving around the globe, getting a job here in Korea or elsewhere. But when it comes to low-skilled migrants, it's a completely different story. We obviously have a great need of them, particularly because there is a tendency among Korean working population to avoid what's known as 3D jobs, the dangerous, difficult, and my apologies, I'm just having a mental blank about the third D, but the kind of jobs that people don't want to do. And so we've been using migrant workers to do those jobs, but particularly through COVID period, it was very difficult for people to move, obviously, and the Ministry of Justice issued fewer visas. And once the migrant workers actually got here, they were also subjected to very poor working conditions, which has been an issue for a number of decades. And it's been constantly pointed out to us on the international stage that we need to improve on those conditions. So earlier this year, back in July, the Ministry of Labor made a proposal to the President Yoon, that we should issue around 50,000 more visas for these kind of workers, and to process those who are on waiting list more quickly. But the problem is they're on a very restricted visa conditions, and when they enter the country, they're often bound to one place of employment. Recently, the laws have changed so that they can actually leave a place of employment if they're being abused, but it's very difficult to prove that. And they are also discriminated against in terms of wages. Sometimes they're not even paid properly. They don't really have a place to live even. And so those kind of working conditions are things that need to be addressed for us to be able to attract migrants to Korea, but also once they are here, to actually treat them without discrimination and fairly.
Right. And well, Seong-ah, now you're running a vocational training center, and you have many different programs that support people who are marginalised from the job market. So what kind of programs or special measures do you initiate to help foreign citizens or migrants to South Korea really develop their job capabilities?
My educational institution offers a variety of educational courses to foreigners and immigrants. The institutions are located in Bupyeong, Juan, Seong-ah, Daesan, Dongicheon, and Bucheon. There are various programs such as barista, cooking, confectionery and baking, chicken beauty, nail art, and caregiver. advantage of courses are first, the courses is supported by the Ministry of Employment and Labor so that immigrants can receive tuition assistance. Second, we provide multilingual educational service in Chinese and English. Third, lectures are conducted by instructors with nationally certified expertise.
I see. So there are various programs that you're running there, and of course you're trying to expand the programs in different languages, as you mentioned, like English and Chinese. That's all very helpful, I'm sure. And well, we want to talk about female workers as well, Seong-ah. Now, according to Statistics Korea, 17% of South Korean women, they experienced a career disruption following their marriage, with most of them in their 30s leaving their jobs, mostly to raise children. And that's around 1.39 million, which is slightly down from last year, but this downward trend, though, in recent years, the decrease is actually due to the declining population rather than, a better working environment. So we are seeing we are seeing many women in South Korea see their careers come to a halt after marriage. So could you really elaborate on the situation, what's going on, Seong-ah?
Yeah, in Korea, it is not easy for many women to take advantage of legally guaranteed parental leave due to the social atmosphere caused by career breaks due to childbirth and childcare after marriage. If you leave the company, many women will have a career break from at least 6 months to 10 years. When consulting many women at academies, most women answer that it is difficult to prepare for re-employment because of childcare. What they said, I believe that childcare issues should be resolved in related policies and social atmosphere at the national level, and educational for re-employment is necessary. I hope that through vocational training institutions, women can increase their contribution to society and economic growth.
I see, right. And as you said, the career break can be anything from 6 months to even 10 years. That's a long time. And by then, of course, all the kind of training and the kind of accumulated skills, they would have maybe weakened a bit. They might be irrelevant. And Professor Cho, now the number of women whose careers are interrupted after marriage, pregnancy, childcare, has been on the decline, as statistics show. But while this may seem like good news, of course, there's always plenty of room for improvement, particularly among the 30s and 40s who have seen the highest rate of interruption to their work life. How do you think these current policies are working out? Are they working well enough?
As Director Bae mentioned, there are statistics. There is an expression, lies, and statistics. And statistics can be manipulated to tell lots of different stories. But also, if you look behind the numbers and look at the real situation, you realize that the numbers are not really that rosy as they first seem. And so if we look at the kind of jobs that these women who return to work after childbearing and child rearing, we find that the quality of jobs that they get is much poorer than what they had initially started off with when they began on their career path, when they had to take a break. And so often they're going into jobs that are underpaid in comparison to their qualifications and experience. And usually these are temporary jobs also without certainty of tenure or safety or job security. And so the quality of work that they get is not great, and there is no real sort of prospect of building a career based on that. And also in workplace in Korea especially, there is a very strong tendency of ageism. And you find this particularly among males of certain age who are uncomfortable working with older females. And so I think we need to address those kind of discriminatory attitude and also provide better child support for women so that they don't need to take such a long break from their careers in order to have a family and raise children. Even now, disproportionate amount of work related to child caring is falling on women, and that burden needs to be shared more equally also.
Right, and in a moment, I'd like to ask you more about how that burden can be spread and why these maternal leave policies haven't been working as hoped. But first, Seong-ah, now, in what ways are you helping women retrain and get back into the job market?
We are helping those women in need through a step-by-step process. So our academic process goes as follows. First, in order to receive tuition support benefits, we guide the student through the process of issuing a national support card. Once they receive the National Tomorrow Learning Card, which is a state-funded support card issued by the Ministry of Employment and Labor, they can receive up to 100% of the tuition fee. Second, we have organized the class time according to the student's desired time. For example, classes are held from 10 to 3 on weekdays, 3 times a week for 3 months.
I see. So you're helping roll out those subsidies for these women to actually pay for their courses as well. The government's been trying to expand that and growing number of curricula, I think, for different kinds of programs. And what do you think, Seong-ah, are the most important vocational skills that are currently in demand?
The most popular vocational skill in my different academies vary depending on the student ages. Women in their 20s and 30s are mostly baking and pastry skills certificate, barista license, cosmetology license. Women in their 30s and 40s are food service license. Women in their 40s and 70s are caregiver license.
Right, so we're seeing everything from cosmetics licenses to caregiver licenses, and these licenses, these programs as well, fit around to really help people attain them. It's become a very structured process, hasn't it? It's really been a good way to get people their retraining and get their skills more relevant again. And right, it's good to see the sort of programs that you're offering lots of people in your community. And now, Professor Cho, now getting back to you. So we were talking about maternal policies or providing more support for working women. And in what ways do you think the support needs to be better rolled out, I suppose?
You just referred to how these training programs are really structured, and that's what we really need in terms of childcare as well. So currently, Korean government's policy regarding supporting pregnant mothers and childcare seems to be geared more towards one-off payments. So if you are pregnant, you might receive $1 million once-off payment from your local council or the local government. Once the child is born, you might also receive another payment from the government. And also the maternity leave, you get you're entitled to, depending on workplace, 3 months, 6 months, etc., when the child is born. But what you really need is the kind of program that countries that have successfully turned around falling birth rate, such as France and Sweden, where they literally provide childcare and support from year zero all throughout to teenage years. And so when you become pregnant, you should have easy access to clinic and prenatal care. Once you have given birth, you should have access to postnatal care and also child minding type of services that are much more easily available. The kind of childcare facilities that are available to very young babies from 0 to 3, it's literally just part of the day, and so it's impossible for a woman with such young age babies to go back to work. And so you find that employers actually prefer men with children because the men with children are seen as more responsible and reliable, whereas they tend to avoid hiring women with children because they know that these women may not be able to give their 100% to their jobs because they have children to care for. And so we need to change that kind of attitude and prejudgment and perception by society. And the only way that we can actually do this is through giving proper structured government-funded help to women with children, because the reason why women find it very difficult to go back to work is because somebody has to pay for the childcare, and it often the wage that they can earn by working is equivalent to what they have to pay to get the childcare, and so there is no point. And so unless we address these kind of fundamental problems, we are not really going to see any improvement.
Right, and I completely agree with you there, Professor. The culture is always seems to be the biggest sort of kind of hindrance when trying to push through these changes, and of course these gender roles really don't help in terms of trying to change that. And well, I'm afraid this is where we'll have to end the discussion here, but that was Director Seong-ah, CEO of Korean Vocational Education and Training Institute, and Hee-kyoung, Professor of Law at Hongik University. Thank you both so much for your time today, and have a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much. You too.
Thank you very much, you too.
So thank you to our viewers for tuning in. And yes, Christmas is just around the corner. So have a very Merry Christmas, and we'll see you on the Monday after Christmas. Goodbye.